Hey guys, Tisha here, and we are back for another Sister Wives Season 6 review. Now I'm doing something a little different because normally whenever there's any type of tell-all, I skip it and I don't review it for these older reviews. But there were some things that were said in this tell-all that I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to actually take some notes on this because we're finding out some things, because unlike Suki, Tamron is asking the questions that we would want the answers to. So first thing that I noticed is that there are a lot of times where Tamron would ask Cody a question and Robin would answer. So as early as season 6, we got to see some little inklings of the bird speaking for Cody. Second thing I noticed is that Robin makes a lot of questions or things about her, even things that aren't being directed towards her. Okay. Third thing I noticed is that Cody admitted to thinking that what he said about Mary during that whole graduation tantrum that she threw, he thought originally that it wasn't caught on camera, because he admitted to Tamron to basically ducking the cameras. That was what was going on in that moment. And I think Cody was surprised that it got captured on film. I'll remind you all of these things when we get to that moment, but for now, let's go ahead and get started. So we begin being reminded of the commitment ceremony that they had and how the family wanted this to represent them being reunited because they had been living separately for over 2 years, and that the whole point of the mission statement was to get them back on the same page. So Tamron says, are you all committed to being one family or a family of 4? And they all say that, they're committed to being a family of 4. Tamron then says, Mary, when it came to the celebration, you seemed to be the skeptical one. Why? So Mary said that she was skeptical because in her mind, they would have the celebration when they were all on a really good places with each other, when they were all in really good places with each other. She didn't want it to be a thing where there's this pretty rug that they're just sweeping everything under. She wanted it to actually be what it was that they were trying to present to us. And I'm sitting here like, this is yet another time where Mary is showing us that there were things and there were cracks and there were flaws that we, as the viewers, didn't see. Because you keep saying that you wanted us to be perfect, you wanted this to be right, you wanted this. What were the areas where you guys were lacking so much? What were the issues with the family? This is part of the stuff that they've hid, which they've admitted to. I just recently read in Mary's chapter when they talked about celebrity, and she said that there are things that they asked the producers not to talk about and not to discuss. And I think that there were things that Mary wasn't really willing to talk about, but here we know that something was going on as to why she thought that they shouldn't be having this ceremony at this time. So we hear that they're making a commitment because they want to enjoy their family. That sometimes is difficult, but according to Cody, they made this commitment to be forever and to also be forgiving. And I want to know when Cody stopped being forgiving, because we know now that he held a lot of resentment when it came to some of his wives. So we hear about the transition that Mary is now facing with being an empty nester. And we see the clips of the things that Mary has said. And as Mary is speaking, Robin, in my opinion, begins to make this segment about her. Tamron says when she was home seeing these scenes that she found herself in tears listening to Mary, which I think is something really good to point out, because it does seem while when Mary was sitting there crying her heart out, that the other wives weren't moved by it, to the point where they were just watching her while she was crying. And for Robin, who we're later told by Cody is an empath, you would think that in this moment she would kind of take on some of what Mary was feeling, but that's not what happened in that segment. Anyways, so after Tamron, says the whole statement about, she was listening and she was crying, she wants to know, she wants to hear from Mary. So Mary says that she questions what her role will be. She's trying to decide if this is the time she should go use to find herself and to do something for her. As she's saying this, Robin interjects and says, this whole conversation makes me mad, because she's sitting there in one breath thanking us for raising her, helping her raise her kid, and I expect her to do the same for mine. Now, while this is being said, neither one of the other wives who were actually there to help raise Leon is saying anything. But here we have Robin, who at this point has been in the family for 2 to 3 years. And she's interjecting like she has some stake in the fact that Mary doesn't know who she is outside of her child. Tamron asks a question to Cody about, how does he, feel about the situation, because Mary said that Cody can't relate. And Cody said that he doesn't know what to think, but he feels like now is not the time for Mary to have a midlife crisis or to go sit out there and find herself, because they are all adults. He thinks that, this is just her having a midlife crisis. And I'm like, okay, that's super insensitive. You really don't pay attention to the things that are coming out of your wife's mouth. Despite her being annoying and all these other things, she's telling you that her identity has been wrapped in her child, and now she doesn't know where she stands within the family. Cody and Robin think that when she is looking for something to replace Leon, that they can come right next door. And Mary's like, this isn't about replacing my child. This is about finding out what my next steps are. And then Robin says, our kids need you though. They need you to show them things that we can't show them. And I don't want you to go too far. And I'm sitting here like, okay, Robin, this is not about you. How did you manage to make this segment where Tamron is asking Mary about herself, and here you are making it about you? Tamron says, that all sounds good, but Mary is saying that she hasn't absorbed all of this. Mary is saying that she's trying to figure it out. So even Tamron in this moment kind of saw that this wasn't like, you're saying all of this stuff, but this is about Mary. Mary says, try to put this into perspective, Cody. God forbid if one of your wives, if Janelle or Christine or myself or somebody passes away, you would miss them, right? And Cody's like, yes. So she's like, so that means that there is now a hole in a place where one of your wives once stood. So with that being said, what would you do now? Because you no longer have that space that once was filled. And he says, but you do. You talk to to Leon all the time. And I'm sitting here like, he never takes the opportunity to understand what she is saying, and he always completely negates the things that she says. Because here she is saying basically like, there was this person that was here all the time, and now they're no longer here. How do you operate from a space with them no longer being here? Now, was the analogy of the person passing, was that the wrong thing to use? Yes. Maybe she could have used the example of, I don't know, say Logan, who was very influential in the family, and how, maybe asking Janelle, how did it feel once he left the home, to kind of show, the correlation. But Cody didn't get it. So Mary is over it at that point, and she's like, Tamara, let's just talk about something else. The bird then jumps in again after Mary says, let's talk about something else. And she claims to understand what Mary is going through. And Tamron says, this is part of the reason why people outside of this wonder why, if you have sister wives, why is it that you feel alone? Why do you feel lonely? And then Christine says, everyone will feel lonely at some point, which once again negates the way that Mary is feeling. I don't like a lot of the things Mary does, but none of them were hearing her in this point. And I think that the fact that you have all these people around you and you still feel alone shows that there were really some bigger issues here. Because Mary, I think a lot of times felt like she was a nuisance. That's the way they treated her. Even though they sometimes tried to include her in things, you admittedly say that y'all have been lazy since moving to Vegas, and when y'all lived in the rental homes, y'all got accustomed to being, on your own and doing things for yourself, that you had to reprogram yourself to get used to doing things again with your other sister wives. So I think Mary felt in this instance that she was a burden. Robin then says, this is why I'm stomping my foot, because there are so many other kids to love that she doesn't need to feel this way. End of segment. But you see what I'm saying about Robin making it about her. That was supposed to be a Mary segment. And in that segment, we heard more from the bird than we did Mary. Okay, we then talk about Truly and how scary it was that she was in the hospital. We know she was in the hospital for 11 days, 7 of which she was having kidney dialysis. We find out that Aspen and McKelty, and this is according to Janelle, were going back and forth to the hospital to visit Truly and Christine. Notice, it was not said that Cody was a part of that. I'm telling y'all, Cody was not there a lot. The few times that we saw him go there, or we were told he was going there, was probably it. Meanwhile, Christine spent majority of her time there. I think we were told one time where Cody, was there to find out some results and stuff, and for Christine to come take a shower. But I think that her 2 older girls helped her a lot when it came to that situation, which is why Janelle gave them so much credit for, how proud she was of them and all that other stuff, because they were the ones that were also holding their mother down. We hear Christine again thank the ladies, not Cody. Thank the ladies for helping bring the kids to football practices and events and things of that nature, as well as preparing meals. We find out that, even though they may have rough times and they may be dysfunctional sometimes, that when it comes to tragedies or things where they all need to come together, that they do a good job of that. Tamron asks about, have y'all talked about what would happen if something is to happen to one of the wives? And Christine, as well as Janelle, say that they've had the discussion with their children, and they know which homes that their children want to go to, and all of them don't want to go to the same home. But it's not about them. It's about making sure that they're in a place where they'll thrive and where they'll be happy. Cody says that at the end of the day, we'll all still be in the cul-de-sac, so it will work wherever they go. When I hear him say this, I'm like, okay, so Cody didn't plan on leaving Vegas originally, because he kept talking about this cul-de-sac. So it didn't seem like you originally planned on leaving Vegas, even though later on in the episode, Robin kind of alludes to the fact that she didn't want Vegas to be their permanent spot. Okay, we then hear the piece about Cody saying, comparison is the killer of joy, right? So Tamron asks Cody, if the relationships are all equal, did y'all hear what I said? Tamron says, Cody, are the relationships all equal? And the bird speaks for him again. The bird cannot help but speak for him. It's crazy looking back at it, especially in this episode, how often she did it. It's to the point that I really think that the wives spent more time talking to Robin than they did their husband, because Robin in this episode had a lot to say. I don't know if they cut parts out, but the other wives were a lot less vocal, and Robin had the most to say. So Robin says all the relationships aren't equal. and it isn't about that. And I'm sitting here, well, that's the problem, because it should have been equal. Robin says it's about each relationship with the two individuals, and that everybody is contributing to that dynamic, meaning like her and Cody, or her and Mary, or her and Janelle, or her and Christine. Tamron says, so it sounds to me like the goal is for it to be individual, and the key for survival is to not compare. As she says that, Janelle said it took her time to figure that out, because there were times where she did compare her situation and it wasn't good. She was like, there were things that she didn't even originally know that she wanted until she witnessed, Cody doing it with another wife. And I'm sitting here wondering what those things are. What was it that she wanted that she didn't realize she wanted originally? Was it more time with him? I don't know. We then hear about the mother-in-laws and how, Tamara's like, which one of them, like, are there moms, that still have their eye on you? And she asks Cody, and Cody's like, didn't you hear man code, whatever. And then she says, okay, Mary, I know you're going to tell me. And Mary acts like she doesn't know. So we hear that Mary's mom is the only one that fully accepts Cody and feels like he does no wrong. We don't hear this from Mary, though. We hear this from Christine. I'm listening to this and I'm saying, okay, if Cody does no wrong, then to me, Mary was taught by her mother at a very early age what her role was supposed to be in her polygamous relationship. And she was also taught to be male identified, because we then hear how Cody has heard where Mary has called her mother to complain, to say something like, my husband is a jerk. And her mother's response would be, no, I know him. He's not a jerk. This came from her own mother. So no wonder why Mary is the way she is. Take that in, y'all. You're calling your parent to complain about some wrong that your husband has done to you. And given some of the things we've heard, example, the burning of the ring, Cody has done some pretty crappy things to Mary, right? With that being said, I call up my mama and I say, he burnt this ring. And my mom tries to justify why he did it. Not saying that that's what happened, but basically that's what Cody was saying. Like, she can complain about me and her mom's not going to try to hear that. And Christine even, agrees. Okay. We get to the graduation. We see the whole ceremony drama, what happened between Cody and Mary, and Robin inserting herself once again. All right. Because we've already seen it done a few times just in this tell-all. So we know that Mary wanted a better spot. We hear Robin say Mary is upset. Then Cody says, that's the thing. Mary is always playing this game. And then she turns and gets you involved. Robin says, I understand you, but I just want you to be the best you can be. Which I said it before in that particular episode, that Robin always has a way of giving Cody a pep talk. We then see Mary walking away saying, I want to see my daughter. Tamron says, Mary, what's going on there? I felt like you were throwing a tantrum, which she was. Tamron asked what we wanted to know. I didn't see her looking at some flashcards. I didn't see her looking at a prompter. I saw her look at Mary like, what happened in that scene that caused you to act like that? Mary explains that some of the family was there before her. They were already seated. They didn't pick good seats. She tried to accept it, but as she was sitting there, she was like, no, this is my one child that's graduating, and I don't want to see the back of their heads. I want to see them from the front, which makes sense, like what all parents would think. So Tamron says, I don't think I've ever seen Mary this angry before. What do you think was going on, Cody? Cody says he felt like she wasn't communicating her needs. And I'm like, okay, even though I wasn't there, she clearly communicated her needs, because she said she needed to see her child. She needed to see the front of her child, not the back of her child. And she said it multiple times. So this shows me that Cody tunes her out. Mary's feelings did not matter in that moment. Instead, he kept talking about, he was just looking at how he had a couple of mother-in-laws and, relatives behind him. And I don't mean no harm, but I said this in my review that time. If I'm there to see my child graduate, best believe I don't care what none of my relatives have to say. And I know they're going to be in full attendance. I'm going to have to try to buy some tickets off of somebody for my son's graduation because the village is going to want to show up. With that being said, I don't care where any of them sit. Because I already know my father. My father is very particular. He's not going to want a whole bunch of people behind him. He's going to want to be in a space where he can roam around so he doesn't feel like he's locked in. Like, I know how my different family members are, so I don't have to be with the whole family. I could be off by myself if I want to get a particular shot. I'm just saying. So for this thing to turn into what it was, it seems stupid. Tamara then says, Cody, what did you mean when you said that Mary always puts you in the middle when you were talking to Robin? And he chuckles and says that this was a time that he was trying to hide from the camera. Then he said, if Mary can't talk to me, she can't talk me into something, what Mary will do, because she's highly emotional, is she'll talk Robin into talking to me about it. So he can't handle Mary when she's highly emotional. When she cries, he doesn't like it. He can't handle it. So he can't handle the real tears that are coming down from Mary, but he can handle the fake ones that keep coming from the bird. This is the type of stuff I'm talking about. So it's okay if you fake it. He looks at that like, oh, she's so beautiful. She's crying. She's an empath. She's so emotional, even though they're not real. Whereas Mary, granted, regardless if we agreed with the way she was behaving or not, but Mary in this moment was frustrated. As Christine said, it's her only child. It was a lot of anticipation leading up to that moment, a whole bunch of other stuff. But Mary's a nuisance, basically. Mary says, I don't go to my sister wife for the drama. I do this because I know Robin has my back. Tamron says, but you've known him longer and you've been married to him for longer, which sounds like common sense to me. Mary interrupts and says, that doesn't mean that I can communicate with him better. So we see how early Robin was interjected in their marriage. Janelle then says, I think them being together longer sometimes makes it worse because of all the history and everything that you've been through for all these years. One word, one phrase, one look can blow up into something else. So here we have in season 6, Janelle making excuses for why Robin is being used in this situation and why it may be beneficial. You cannot make this crap up. Because in season 18, now that Janelle is sitting on that couch, Janelle has all this heat and she comes at it like, well, the fact that Mary can't talk to her husband without having a mediator, without having to go to Robin, is a flag for me. But here you are in season 6 not saying that. Kind of sounds to me like here in season 6 you're encouraging it, which goes back to why sometimes I side-eye Janelle. Let me make it clear. I like Janelle, right? I like Christine. Those are probably the only two at this point that I kind of like. Sometimes I feel bad for Mary. I do not like Robin whatsoever. But this is part of the stuff that I'm talking about with them, because don't act like it's something you would never do or you looking down upon Mary because Mary should have seen that there was something wrong with that and there's a flag on the play. Whereas here you're saying that you can see why she would do it because sometimes, you just need it. Which one is it, Janelle? We then have Tamron say, are you okay, Robin, with being the peacemaker when there's an emotional block between Cody and Mary? As soon as she begins to speak, the bird, you see Cody gleaming. For the first time this episode, I see all of Cody's teeth and a sparkle in his eye. And Robin says, in all honesty, it's about our family. Tamron says, so the answer is yes, you're okay with it. And she says, yes, I want the relationship to succeed and I want the girls to have a graduation with no drama. Tamron then brings up the college situation. We find out from Christine that they all have a budget, that Mary has enough money in her budget to pay for Leon's college, whereas Christine does not have enough money in her budget to pay for Aspen's. As a result, Mary pays for Leon's college out of her budget, and then Aspen's tuition payment comes from the family budget. So why did we have so many episodes of them talking college? Why did we have so many episodes of Cody trying to get Leon to change their mind about what college they went to? Why did we have so many episodes of Cody trying to complain and make Leon feel bad for the college that they've always said that they wanted to go to, when it had already been determined that more than likely Mary was going to pay for the college from her own budget for her child, and the family would cover the budget for Aspen? Yet another instance of them wasting our time. Tamron says, so there's 6 accounts. They say, yes, there's a family account, and then each of the adults have their own account. I wonder how much of the money that the ladies put into the family account actually went to things that it should have gone to, because I look now and I remember how Janelle said, like, I've seen some of the things that they spent money on. And I wonder how much of the stuff from the family account went to things it shouldn't have. Like the different vehicles we see in Robin's driveway, like the many paintings that we see on the walls, like the matching rings, like the ATVs. Like, did all of this come out of just Cody and Robin's budget? Or was this something that came out of the years out of the family pot? Just wondering. And is there a set amount that they all put into the family pot? They didn't really specify that. They say this budget, the family budget, is for like cars and like medical needs. Something sudden comes up or whatever. So we're hearing it's for cars and medical needs. But if I remember correctly, when Christine first wanted to have surgery for Isabel and she wanted to get money from the family budget, that Cody told her no. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I kind of tuned out in the later seasons and I don't remember, but I think that's what happened. Okay, so we've been here. We hear again that Mary has the same budget as the other ladies do, even though she has less children. And I'm like, can they not see why this would have created resentment towards Mary from the other wives? I'd be pissed. I mean, capital Pissed. Pissed. What do you mean that we have the same budget and I only have one child and they got 6 and another mouth? That sounds ridiculous. Not only that, Mary's child is going over to the other mom's house to eat dinner and hang out and do all that other stuff. Mary, are you sending money with your child to help? Because that is ridiculous. I'm just saying. Let me calm down. Tamron asks, so what if there's a situation where it's college or a car? Like, it's, do we send the kid to college or do we send the kid, give kid money for a car? And she says, Cody, do you have the final say so? He pauses to answer the question. And as he's pausing, his mouthpiece comes in again and speaks for him and says, yes, he does. He doesn't want to say it, but he has the final say so. Then we hear some of the other women agree. And I'm like, good grief, this woman really does speak for him. I never noticed how much she spoke for him until I'm sitting here, which is why she has told us that she speaks Cody. Robin says he's not a dictator, but we give him the final say because he knows everything that is going on in all of our lives, and these are his children. I don't agree with that. There's a lot of stuff that he seems to not have known about his kids, but, you know, Robin is going to pump her man up. They talk about the trip. that the ladies went on for their first trip as wives, the one before Truly got sick. And we talk about how, Cody sent "I love you" in a mass text message. And Tamara wants to know why Robin was so bothered by the ladies either not responding or not knowing how to respond. And Robin says because Cody is sending something very sweet. And to Cody, it's very important to have his affections, returned. Because she speaks Cody, she knows, She says, when he says something sweet, I want to make sure that I say it back. But I can't say it to him in the group message. I have to send him an individual message because I'm afraid that it's going to upset somebody. So Tamara says, who would be upset if Robin says she loves you in the group text or she says it verbally? Everybody's quiet. Mary and Janelle say no, they wouldn't, even though Mary was one of the main ones talking about how awkward it is to even have the man on the phone with somebody, like she could hear what was being said on the end of his phone. Then Robin says, okay, good then. I'm going to start texting him in the group. Christine then speaks up and says, here's my problem. When he's away, I do not want him sending me a message via the group. I want one-on-one communication. And he says, okay, I can do that. Tamara then says, but y'all are in a plural marriage. And Robin says, you are so right. And you are calling out us out on our bull crap 100%. Cody smiles again at Robin in this and points at her and does like this, like, yeah. Meanwhile, Christine looks like she's uncomfortable. Here's the thing. They are in a polygamous family. And I guess maybe at some points, Cody was made to feel like he couldn't be affectionate in front of the other wives. And if that was the case and it lingered on for so long, maybe there were issues with that as well. And that should have been something that they worked out prior to adding another wife to the family. Janelle says that what you're seeing in this scene with us sitting at the table is us trying to respect the space of the person that he's on the phone with. I call bull because they all looked uncomfortable while he was on the phone talking. It wasn't like he was on speakerphone. And the only person who didn't seem bothered was Robin. Maybe it's because at this point, Robin, was in a better place. Maybe it's because she didn't care about the ladies and she doesn't see them as competition. But she was the only one that looked unbothered to me. So she's trying to disengage, according to Janelle, while they're speaking because she's not trying to get involved with their relationship. Y'all let me know if you agree with that, if you think Janelle's telling the truth on that. I'm not quite certain. I feel like it's more to it, but I could be wrong. Tamara says that this doesn't take the heat off Mary, though, because Mary was hesitant regarding going on the trip with the ladies in the first place. Tamara says, these are your sister wives. What did you think was going to happen? You think you would come back with just two of them and leave the other one on the side of the road? Cody laughs at this. It just goes back to show you that the ladies weren't as close as they pretended to be, because she shouldn't have been so hesitant to take a trip with them. She should have been excited, but she was very apprehensive. Mary says that she just didn't want to be uncomfortable or walk on eggshells, that their relationships have not always been perfect, and she likes things to be perfect. Robin says they really got comfortable with being in the rental homes and away from each other, and that going on this trip was really their first step to saying that they really want to try to work back on relationships. These people are full of crap. We then get the teens, Madison, Logan, Leon, Aspen, and McKelty. Oh, and Hunter. Leon says college has taught them to just focus on college and not worry about the whole sister wife thing and the relationships and all of that other stuff. Logan is happy about this because that's one of the things that Logan wanted, was for Leon to kind of explore and grow up on their own. Aspen and Logan are both at UNLV. He says that he does watch out for her, but he tries not to, overcrowd her, that he lets her have her space and he has his. But they do come together sometimes and they do have, lunch together, which I think is sweet. They talk about being asked about dating, because we know that's one of the things that McKelty wanted. And we find out that Hunter and Logan do not plan on following the traditional route of asking if they can see somebody, which means they want no polygamy. McKelty is the only one dating at this time. We then get back to the parents. Tamron says, what's going on with, you guys and your relationships? Mary, are you in an even better place than ever right now? Mary says, we have a good relationship. Like I said, there's always room for improvement, which means it's a no. Tamron says, where does it need improvement? Mary says, we've been married for almost, and then Cody interrupts and says 22 years. Mary says 24. And Tamron laughs and says, okay, I see somewhere where you need improvement. Then we get to Janelle, who admits to being sidetracked with the kids and career for the last few years. But now she's been taking time for herself, and it's made her and Cody's relationship stronger. Christine says that her and Cody are having more fun again for sure. She said there were years that was really tough, but she wasn't going to leave despite it being tough. She thinks that it's getting better and better all the time. Notice that both Mary and Christine's response let you know that they're still having trouble. Whereas Janelle's response, and I'm about to read Robin's, seems like they're fine. So once again, Mary and Christine for years have been struggling with Cody. Robin says their relationship is deeper than it ever was. The only thing that is coming between them is Solomon being in their bed every single night. And I said, every single night? How every single night? Robin coddles her children, and she wants them to remain infantile, because the fact that you have a whole crib and you did all that stuff and wasted the family's money and had a baby shower and whatever else, and you're not using, I don't know, the two bassinets that you had, the pack and play, the crib, all the things that you put in that room, you would think that you would let your child sleep in their bed. But that's not what she did. She coddled them. Cody says every single night. And I said, how does Cody know that the kid's in the bed every single night unless he's there at some point every single night? Cody says, I love her because she's empathetic. I don't think that there's an empathetic bone in Robin's body, but that's what he says. I've seen empaths, and Robin ain't it, but that's what he says. He says, you got to understand this. I don't want to take away the thing that I like about her, but it's time to get cruel to this kid and put him in his crib. But Robin just told us earlier that Cody has the final say so. So did Cody really have the final say so, or was it Robin? Because he wants him in that crib, but Robin hasn't taken him out that bed and put him in that crib. See what I'm saying? Robin was playing even with Cody early on here. We find out in December, a judge overturned part of the rule that prohibited cohabitation of father and his wives. It means a lot to the family. Cody says, we were promised by the public officials that we wouldn't be bothered, and I felt like we were being bothered, so I had to get my family out of there. I said it before, that this family really made it seem like they were under this serious investigation. Even though there was an investigation, at no point were they approached by anyone from CPS, Child Protective Services is what we call it here. I don't know what they call it other places. But with that being said, they don't just remove kids from the home like that anymore. There's times where I've seen children remain in homes that definitely should have been taken out of homes, but they're trying to keep families together. So even though that's how it was back in the day for their grandparents, this meant a lot to them. Janelle says that the ruling was humbling and that there were so many thousands of people affected by this. So now that they don't have to worry about that is great. They're just happy that people don't have to hide their relationship. Teron asks, so does that mean that you're going to go back to Utah? And Robin says, it's not quite safe enough for us to go back to Utah, but that is what I consider to be home, which is interesting because we know later on Robin has no desire to go there. Maybe it's because she already knew that her child was going to be in Arizona, but Robin had no desire to go there. She says they don't have their religious community and they don't have their church. Vegas is just not the best case scenario. I want to know what changed, because you don't have any of that in Flagstaff either. Leon, at some point when they heard the ruling, let the adults know how proud they were. And we say that we're extra proud because Leon, who was one of the hardest people to convince, seems to be the proudest of them, and it means a lot to Cody. And in the end, the parents feel like the risk was worth it. That's the end, y'all. Sorry that this went so long. I didn't realize I had written so much down, but I thought that there was some key things in there that contradict some of what we hear now. Like always, we seem to find a lot of those contradictions. I am about to go. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Thank you so much for those of you who have subscribed. The family is growing, and I am so excited to see new faces, to see new people in the comment section. I got a lot to catch up on, but I am going to respond. It means a lot to me, and I appreciate it. If you have not subscribed already, what are you waiting on? If you've been here more than once or twice, you pretty much see what I do, okay? My hope is to have the next chapter of Becoming Sister Wives out, what's today? By Thursday. And I might do another one to piggyback off of it. I'm not sure, because I don't think I have too many more chapters left in the book. And I want to make sure that we get that done, because my schedule is about to get really jam-packed with some stuff that I have to do as far as the shelter is concerned. Oh, for those of you who, don't worry, I'm not asking you for money. For those of you who have the ability to gift a child with something, one of the things that I'm noticing, because my church works a lot with some organizations, is that people are afraid that their money isn't going to the right place. If you look online, there are organizations that actually don't want the money, but they want the gift. It varies for community. I know out here where I'm at, the place that we're partnering with is called 4Kids, where they actually have the list of stuff that they need to get the parents that are in the shelter, to make sure that those parents can wrap up those gifts for their children, to also make them feel like they're a part of the experience. So if you have the ability to give, and even if it's something from 5 and below, you don't know how much that means to those families that can't afford to do it. I get it. We hear some of the horror stories out there about things that happen, you know, with the Salvation Army and the bell box and all those other things. But there are organizations that truly do pour back into their communities. So if you have the ability to, because of the season, please do so. I know this is completely off topic, but I just thought about it. Do what you can do. This is a really interesting time of year for myself. We had a lot of losses over the past 2 years, some of which happened this month. And I have made it my mission to not allow myself to sink in a place of depression, because it could be so much worse, you all. So if you can, in any way, even if you can't give a gift, even if all you can do is go to a local shelter, they're a little bit more different about serving and stuff like that now because of COVID and stuff like that. But anything that you can do to help, do so. You know, some people really, like, they don't have anything, and that one little thing means so much to them. And for some people, it helps them get to the next day. So, sorry for rambling. Until next time. I can't hit the stop button.